then never even got to look at the last recording.
No worries.
Looks like our first agenda item is review and approval of the previous minutes. Did anyone have any concerns with those minutes, or did they look good to everyone who attended?
Good to me.
Awesome. Can I get a motion to approve the last minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the March 11th meeting. Is that right?
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Seconded. Thirded.
Yeah. Great. So that was a motion by Darlene and a second by Travis and Parker. All those in favor? Great. Looks
Aye.
like everyone's in favor. So our next agenda item was to review and approve the agenda beach rules. I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong one. Looks like review and approval of the agenda, but
I just put it out there because I just threw it
Gotcha.
together so we had ones, but if we need to add things, we'll add them.
perfect. So the beach rules and access review. I know that you guys worked on this, I think, a little last meeting, correct? And there have been some discussions, so I think there's more conversations to be had.
Yeah, I don't mind just kind of giving the lay of the land real quick. Where we are is in the appendices of the town ordinance for the beach. This committee is charged to help update various things regarding rules, also about user management protocols. Also, we have to do a beach map. I don't think this committee has to worry too much about the map part. But as we're looking at these new opportunities for our beach when it comes to how we might organize resident defined usage of the beach, also non-resident taxpayer. As of right now, we have the collective conversation identifying that they would have the ability to use the beach for free. If you are a non-resident Monmouth, there would be a fee that we have discussed. And we talked in our last meeting about the beach application and how people can basically purchase a non-resident application or a beach pass, either on a full seasonal basis, which right now is projected as a possible cost of $100. There's a weekly rate, and then there's also a daily rate that can be given out as guest passes. So that's kind of where we are trying to pick up this conversation as to, what not only what are the rates that we want to potentially put out there, but confirming the process that goes into it. And I sent out an email a little bit earlier this afternoon that has the town of Monmouth Beach rules that are posted on the bathhouse right down at the beach. And I also sent out a comparison of the town of Reedfield. And I think it is worth comparing the two because while Reedfield has double the rules, it is far more robust and it does also reflect what we're talking about. Like the rules right now as posted in Monmouth has nothing about like usages of the beach. And I think we can try find maybe an easy medium depending on what we come to a conclusion on as far as rates go and how that can be best reflected into understood rules. So I'm happy to like let the group kind of discuss, as I really trust your feedback as community residents and have a lot more history with this beach. But to the extent that it can be helpful, I'm more than happy to share my screen so everyone can see those rules side by side, but also the beach application. So I'm gonna just put myself on mute. I'm gonna let you all just hop in where you need to, and I'll share my screen.
So do we want to take them one at a time? Do we want to do the application and then do the rules?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, agreed. I actually I had a proposal for the application with different fees. I think I had mentioned it to you a while back, Mike, but my role as the select board member is making sure that what I'm bringing back to the board makes sense for the town based on what I've heard from, town residents during meetings and stuff. And this ties into that streetlight survey. I don't know how many of you saw that we had done, where people really want to see a development of downtown and see more people coming into Monmouth and our economy revitalized. So I do have a different proposal in terms of what we would charge non-residents. It would still be the $5 per adult guest, but then children 5 to 17, I think, should only be $3. And then if they are over 65 or under 5, I feel they should be free, because we don't want to run the risk of families not visiting Monmouth and not supporting our local businesses, because we are trying to continually develop the economy. That's the whole point of us having a TIF district. The sidewalk project not only will benefit residents, but ideally we want to bring other people into town as well. And that's my stance as a select board member, where I feel that this is not going to increase visitors to the town.
Yeah, I'd be open to committee members' feedback for sure.
Do you think it would impair people that come here just for the day, or people that are like maybe staying at a camp or someplace and they are coming to the beach as a group? Which
So I
group
did
do you
have,
think it'll impair the most?
yeah, so I did have an idea for a group day pass too, where if you had a max of 6 people per your group, then you could do $20 per group. And that would also encourage people to carpool, because you know how it is, there's not a huge parking lot there, and people also use that for the boat launch. So if we had a group rate for the day, people would be more likely to try and consolidate, which would also be ideal.
So
I mean,
you're
I'm
saying like
open
that,
for. No, go ahead.
go ahead. No,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I think it's good to discuss the fee stuff. I also think we just got to be aware and cognizant that town residents aren't paying more than out of town residents to own their own, use their own beach that they own.
Yeah. No, I think it should still be free for town residents. But in
Well,
order
no, it
to-
is still
yeah.
free, but it's not really free, right? Because we're all paying taxes. Follow me?
Right.
Yeah.
So if an out of state town resident can use our own beach cheaper than we can use the beach, then there's an issue, right?
I like the idea of maybe the 65 and older, that they can get a pass. I like that idea. But I don't mean between 3 and 5, I just think it's, and we can cap it at a certain amount, but I don't think there's a huge difference between the 3 and the 5. That's just my opinion. I'll let everybody else weigh in.
Yeah, and I mean, I have workshopped this with non-residents who and gotten their opinions, and I've looked at other towns, and I have been informed by them that if we were to charge this and they knew we were going to charge this, they just wouldn't come to Monmouth. They would go to, state beaches, which are less expensive. So it's something that we have to weigh. Like, are we trying to improve our economy through people visiting Monmouth? Are we trying to limit the beach to mostly Monmouth residents? I think this is a conversation that we do need to kind of consider.
So if they come as a group in a car, let's say for the day, and we're going to charge them $20 or $25, let's say, that versus individually.
Yeah, I definitely think it
that-
makes more sense to charge per vehicle if we can.
I don't think you should be putting an attendant personally. Like, you got to be careful. Like, they should have to do this prior to, and I think it should still be in the form of a season's pass. I mean, do you want I'm assuming, I don't know if you've received any applicants, Mike, but I mean, are these high school kids that are more than likely going to be beach attendants?
So it's been spread a few different places. One is, yes, I did send it to Brandon Terrell, the principal at Monmouth Academy. It has been shared publicly. I've shared it also with Darlene for the age-friendly community. And it's always a fine balance when you think about rolling out something new and wanting to not inundate a new system with so many different options that could be overwhelming to somebody to figure out, like, wait, what passes, how many people are in a car. I do want to be mindful that we have a lot of space to grow. And I hear what you're saying, Kayla, about we want to be a lot more aware of kind of like where the economics impacts can be. One of the things that I'm really curious, and maybe it's just because I'm naive and I haven't been through the summer yet, is kind of getting a feel for like how many non-residents truly use our beach. And if that number feels like it's like the beach is attracting people in, how can we do that in a way where we are still like honoring them in a way that doesn't feel like we're forcing them to go, another direction, to go to another beach. Because I think there's always a double-edged sword on it as far as like what Monmouth residents might want versus what might be happening at the beach that might not be issues pertaining to residents. It could be non-resident specific issues. I just don't have that history with it. And that's where I'd
I
like to
think
explore that
When
with the
I've been
community.
down there, it's been mostly residents when I go down in the summer. You got one application in on Thursday, Mike.
Probably the Lori.
It was
you go.
me.
Oh, there you go. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, that must have just gone underneath all my papers on my
Well,
office.
it probably just went right in the shredder. Lori's like, she's like, oh my God, this person, we do not want to verify her.
Yeah, I was gonna check in with Lori, but
No,
So you
I
can
turned it
see
in.
where it's
I
gone,
don't think
Caleb.
Lori was there, maybe, and I just turned it into Jessica. But,
Yeah.
But mostly, I think there are more residents than there are non-residents. On the weekend, it would be a kind of a mix. And I think, weren't we heading toward having like, we could show them a QR code and they could go and do that and do like a Venmo thing or something, so that the attendants wouldn't be handling any money, so to speak.
Yeah, and and like I said before in our last meeting, I did call the town of Reedfield, and I'm not going to say that our beach is the same as Reedfield as far as who and how they attract people to come in. They told me that they sold about 11 full passes, like full season passes, and then they were in the neighborhood of like 45 to 50 day passes for their entire summer. So, it's not like it's a huge number. There is obviously possibility that day passes could be popular. I think the way in which the annual pass, or I say annual, I mean full season, is set up to be pretty attractive because not only is it like $100 face value, probably sounds like a lot, but we're saying that it includes, if everybody can see my screen, includes couples and children under the age of 21 in their entire household. So the repeat day passes, it kind of incentivizes that. But again, like I to your point, Darlene, like the goal is to have people either have the opportunity to be aware of this, as particularly as non-residents, to either visit the town office where they can fill out this physical application and pay at the town office. But I do think it's important to have an opportunity down to do it electronically. I do understand that there might, I talked with Lori about this, there might be some type of a petty cash system where we might need to have in a lockbox, money on site. Because I do understand at a $5 cost for a day pass, not everybody might have a credit card on hand, or Venmo gets tricky because it's not linked to any specific town account. So we do want to streamline it into our financial management system as best as we can. So whatever the fees may be, I think that's going to help me to know just what is the system and protocol so I can get the town office up to speed, and then also train our staff who's going to be down there as to like, hey, this is actually all the different price tiers. Here's exactly how people can pay online. If they need to pay in person, here's how you do that. Here's how we handle end of day accounting to make sure all money is accounted for. So I think with where we're at, it's just like, just trying to decipher, what is a good first year's snapshot when it comes to a cost model that we think a company like really does its best as we can to take everything that we're hearing into account.
Kayla, do you feel like $100 for the season pass is excessive
No, I think
in terms of driving people away?
yeah, I think if people were actually gonna use our beach that frequently, that's fine, because that works out cost breakdown wise for most families. And I actually did have an idea about possibly reaching out to some of the local businesses that are open during beach hours and seeing if they would have applications on hand, and if we could set up a system where, like maybe that bakery right up the road or the general store, would you be willing to partner with us? This will hopefully get people in the door to your store as well to purchase your products if they know they can come and get the day pass or an annual pass from you guys. And then, on Monday, that's sent to the town. That was an idea I had, but I don't know how feasible that would be. But I definitely think it's something that would benefit not only us, but these businesses.
That's a cool idea. I guess I'd be in favor of free for over 65, and if it's kids and adolescents, $3. That seems reasonable to me. $5 for adults.
I think it's reasonable. I think we've got to look at it. It's a learning opportunity, right? So look at it next year as if we do well enough, do we say, yeah, we're good to stay, but do we need to raise costs up next year? And what does that mean? But Kayla, on your general store idea there, do they offer like delivery to the beach or anything? If somebody could call in food and maybe have a free delivery to the beach or anything?
I don't know if they do that, but that would be a really good idea for like a partnership.
No, they don't. But a lot of people tie up at the dock and walk up and
Yeah.
and
Do they?
utilize the store. Yep.
Okay.
I did receive
But
a
with
question,
the
not to go off
advent-
topic. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Right. With the advent of more of the locations being with DoorDash and things, they may be able to do something like that with picking up at the beach, but a lot of people just walk over there. And I wouldn't mind talking to that guy too. He's pretty nice. I go in there regularly since I live right up the street to get
other-
sandwiches. I go there to get sandwiches.
The other
Sure,
thing
Darwin.
too, I don't know, like Mike in particularly, maybe if you're aware too, there are some little food vendors that pop up from time to time. And I mean, I think it's a plus. It just draws people in, but I don't know where people's stance on that is.
I did get a message asking about the hot dog cart, and I was like, that's the first I'm hearing of it. So if you have information on it, I'd gladly be able to look
Yeah,
into it. That's the only one I
there's an
know.
occasional hot dog cart, there's an occasional food truck, and there's quite often an ice cream truck or ice cream cart trailer.
Yep.
It might be worth putting in there. I mean, I think it's great and it's a cool service and we utilize it, but we may want to have a line in there just to, if you're going to use that area. I mean, they're making profit off it. I don't know if it's a small fee or whatever. I don't know wherever people are at, but it probably should be a line on there somewhere. If it doesn't say not to, then people are just going to continue to do it, I guess. But also, I mean, I think we probably want to encourage it to some extent. I think that's it's kind of a neat
Yes.
little.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that Main Street Winthrop gets a fair amount of food trucks in the summer. I've actually gone there in the middle of the workday before because they'll post online. So we could always ask some of those businesses, do you just open up that spot in front for those food trucks and hope that's drawing them into your location, or do you charge them for that prime spot? So we could reach out to them and get their feedback on it.
Or we could ask for a donation if you want to come for the day.
Yep.
All we want is a donation.
Yep. Throw it toward a kid's swim lesson or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's unreasonable to have some level of expectation that there's like documented permission for
Yeah.
them to do that.
Right.
Because usually what works so well with those vendors is they're there to help enhance your space. So like kind of it's a everybody win. It's a win-win
Yep.
for everybody. But I think at minimum, just the permission part is
Right.
great. And again, if it ends up being, hey, donation is great, or maybe that's like a year 2 type thing that we used to say, hey, we're
Right.
exploring our policies, and we're just trying to ensure the quality of the space, and we want to welcome these people in while also being fair to our businesses downtown. I think it's like we have room to grow in that regard.
Sure.
So
Might be
do
cool
we,
to post on social media about looking for more food trucks or vendors to come this summer. I know we would always look to see when the hot dog cart was going to be down there, and we would go after work sometimes. And
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of things that I want to even talk with this committee about, when it comes to whether it's the beach or not, but the beach does come up where, I'd love to host like a cornhole tournament down there and have a couple food trucks, come on down. And, I think the beach, obviously with the beach party, it's a pretty understood area as to what it's utilized for and what can be utilized for. And so that's a tangential point, but it sounds like it's all kind of like in the sphere of things that I've been thinking of with like, newer eyes to all this. So in helping to kind of keep things on the train moving forward, I think it would be really good for us to really come to, as we talked about, maybe a voting consensus with a formal motion so that we can have something on the rates so that we can have a proposal for the select board for them to be able to formally approve. Because correct me if I'm wrong, that is something that we're going to need from the select board to understand that this is actually something new and that it has direct committee support and that we're seeking the select board's support so we can really roll this out.
Yeah, because the select board does have to approve whatever rates we set. So,
Right.
Yeah, and it has to be a vote of 3 out of the 5. I had previously, because all these meetings are recorded in public, discussed, the numbers and stuff, and no one was angry at the thought of non-residents paying. So they know that this is coming.
Yeah, well, I think Caleb's point is really, really poignant, when it comes to that, Monmouth residents are paying for this beach. And while there might not be an additional fee, I do think it's fair to let other people who are coming in to like, if they want to enjoy this asset, there is just a nominal fee that we're asking, and it goes back into the beach, which goes back into their enjoyment of the space as well.
so do you want to just give me an overview of what we are looking at, and then so that we all understand what the different ages are and the rates, so that then when whoever's going to make the motion has a clear and concise dollar amount value. So 65 and older for non-residents would be free.
Correct. And then were we going to do the children under 18 are $3, or where did everyone stand on that?
Well, can I put out a question to the group as it relates to that rate? And I do want to keep the rules a specific conversation. Right now in our rules, that no one under the age of 15 is allowed without parent supervision. And so I do think it's important for us to be mindful of how that might be supervised, in the sense of, if a kid is just showing up who's 15 years old, are we going to just say, yeah, great, you're or 14 years old? Obviously we have to police that. And if our rule's 15, we can amend that. One of the things that I've heard in the past is that people have dropped their kids off at the beach unattended. And I just want us to make sure that we're clear about how we are looking to clean that up. And I think beach attendants are the best way to do that. But then also just making sure our rates do apply with if they're not able to be there by a certain age, that means that they would have to have an accompanied adult, which at that point they would have to have a pass if they are a non-resident as well.
So my concern with this rule is it's going to get tricky, because not everyone who's able to drive or have a license will have a license. And for all you know, there'll be some 15-year-olds with a couple 14-year-olds, maybe some older kids. So in that essence, then there's not necessarily
Those
parent
would
supervision.
mostly be residents, though. They
Right.
would mostly be residents.
I agree with that.
How are we going to verify that these children who fall under this age of 15 to 18 are residents? Because we can't require them to carry mail or have an ID. So are we issuing enough beach passes for every individual in the household? I think this is going to be a more nuanced conversation than just setting the rates.
I think it only comes into effect when you have problems with them. If they're down there being the people that they should be being and don't have interaction with, say, a beach attendant or a lifeguard, then, the attendants move along and don't, nitpick. But if they're down there doing things that necessarily might not be on the rule, then you start asking questions. So
Right. And I do
we're not
think
going to
that-
police every person that walks between the rocks onto the beach.
Right. And I think we want to obviously set ourselves up as best as we can from a policy enforcement side. I do realize that there's naturally going to be some imperfections, not only just with the systems we roll out, but then also there's not going to be someone down there 24/7 as well to verify that. But I do hear what you're saying, Darlene, and also your question and concern, Kayla, about it is tricky. I think we just do the best that we can with the people we have on site to monitor behavior, because that's the biggest point of feedback that I get. I had to talk with a few teenagers last year who are riding their bikes and screeching under brakes underneath the pavilion, or kids who are fishing in areas that they shouldn't be doing. And I politely would let them know who I am, what we're trying to do, why we're trying to redirect. And there was a few instances where it wasn't corrected. Therefore, I then had to say, I'm sorry, like I have to go down this channel of finding out who your parents are, so I can call and make sure that I'm relaying this feedback. Or if you're refusing to leave, I have no choice but to call police, enforcement of that. And usually they ride off into the sunset, but then they trickle back in, a couple of days later. So I think what's going to be important as part of this whole process which wasn't present last year as much as I think people, really wished it could have been based on just the timing of my hire and everything that went into it, is presence. I think once people feel that there is consistent presence who are enforcing the rules, I think that there will be a lot more people who are understanding and thankful for it, and also willing to come to us directly with concerns. But it doesn't solve the rate conversation we're having, but that's just something that I think is important for me, trying to update staff and help us to enforce the rules as best as we can.
I think you're right on, Mike. I think the presence is the biggest thing. I mean, that having lived in a very close proximity to the beach, it was pretty noticeable difference from 2011 up until last year. There was always a presence, and there wasn't much for issue. And last year there was a lot of pretty small issues, but issues nonetheless, because there was no presence of anything organized going on.
Right. So, coming back to the motion, sorry if I muddied the waters on that a little bit for you.
No, you didn't muddy the
We were
waters. I
trucking right
think
along.
So do
I
we,
think it's all things we've got to, so what, I guess it's, we want to kind of go down in order. So 65 and older, and then do we want to do a car rate, like per car, per vehicle that shows up on a daily basis?
I mean, I personally I don't think you need to complicate it with a car rate. I think there's 5 people in the car, each person pays personally. Every state park's designed that way.
Okay.
But
Well,
that's just
could
my opinion.
Could I throw out an idea or question to say that, would we want to even charge kids? And what I mean by that is, if you have a non-resident adult, if you look at the way in which our resident pass is, we are saying you are included as a child under the age of 21. That if you are a non-resident adult and you are coming in to use our beach, let's say I have we could go down the round of family packages, but I think it gets a little complicated. Are you a family of 4? Are you a family of 5? That
Right.
I think if you're paying a day pass, that if we're saying we're charging each individual adult, but any children with them under the age of 18, that they're being accommodated. I think that's really fair. And
I would be open to that.
Non-prohibitive. Yeah, because I think
It's
we
pretty
want
much the
kids
way
here
it's written. I
because-
think it's listed on 20 under 21 right now. 21 and under, right, is what you got it at.
Yeah. And again, this is language mirroring
Yeah.
Wheatfield, and they said that it's worked out pretty well for them.
We would just
I
want to
think-
make sure it spells that out in the section below where it says guest pass, that those
Right,
are
the
adult
day
guest
guest
passes
pass.
and children with the adults are
Yeah.
free. We just want to make sure
Right.
it's spelled out very clearly. We don't want to run into any legal issues.
Right, because I know as a parent too, that like I'm gonna have kids that are with my kids are gonna have friends with them, and whether I bring lunch or I'm looking to like bring them to the general store, like I think the more people we can encourage to come, still within a system that is saying we do have these fees that we're keeping them nominal, but we do want you to come. That I know as a parent, even though I live on the other side of town, I would be like, yeah, that's super fair. Thank you.
I think that's a
Yeah,
good
I
idea.
think that's a great idea.
And it keeps it straightforward for the beach attendants. And I think we want to make sure we keep them happy so that there is the presence and those who can enforce that too.
just to confirm, is that any children under 21 with a guardian, or is it anybody under 21 non-resident? Just want to make sure that's. Is
It
it
sounds like we're talking about non-resident.
non-resident? Okay.
Yeah, because that's the only time a fee is coming into place, really.
Right, but I guess my question was, I wanted to make sure it's with a guardian, correct? So there's somebody with the party that's going that will be paying, pass, and it wouldn't just be a 20-year-old non-resident going there for free. Is my understanding correct?
Yeah, I think what we can do is we can amend the application to a lower age or whatever age we want it to be to make sure that it represents exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
Travis said, like, I do think if we're going to say that 18 and older is considered to be an adult, unless we feel like, again, we're only talking about non-residents here. So you're probably not going to have an 18 non-resident come into the beach. That'd probably be very seldom. But I do think that if we're able to classify very distinctly that ages set, we have 65 and older free, kids 17 and younger are free. But they would, and that's where the next conversation would come in. It's about like the rules, how young can you be, where you have to have an adult, whether you're resident or non-resident.
Okay.
So dependent children, I think we would probably put, if I'm hearing right, is that we might say includes couples and their unmarried dependent children. What do we
18
think?
and younger. Yeah.
18 and younger. I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm open to others' feedback on that.
You all right, Darlene?
Oh, it's my dog. He thinks he needs to like sit on my head.
I didn't know if they were
I think that's
already-
probably okay. I mean, I don't see a whole lot of non-residents bringing their college-age kids to
No.
Monmouth Beach, so it's probably a non-issue.
Right.
I would agree.
Okay.
I think 18 and younger kind of cleans that up.
Yep. All right. So we're going down to that non-resident pass, Darlene. Just moving down the list.
We got that one to the 100, and then it'll be for the kids, and then we're on the daily pass now. And are we setting at $3 for a day pass? And then, but they can buy a weekly pass for 20? Is that where we're at?
The $5, if we're not charging kids,
Yeah.
I think, in my opinion,
If we're not
$5.
charging
Say
for
at
kids, $5 is fair. Yeah.
I will
Okay.
tell you that the town of Reedfield told me, and I know Travis commented on this, I believe last time, as far as like, but maybe we just see what happens this year, and I'm totally good with it. Reedfield told me they sold 0 weekly passes. And maybe that's just a point where we say maybe we offer it this year, and if it proves to be something similar in result, that might be something we take out in the future year. But I think a question is, would we like to maintain a week pass in addition to a day pass?
Okay, so I think where we're at, and I'll try to summarize it, and I'll summarize it sort of in a motion. So if I make mistakes, stop me quick. That we're going to look at the beach pass application as a resident of the town of Monmouth or a non-resident taxpayer will have free. You cannot get in the computer. Can have a will get a mirror hanger or a sticker, and they are free for the season. A non-resident can get a seasonal pass for $100, and that would include their children 18 and younger. Guest passes would be available $5 apiece for adults. Children would be free. And 65 and older non-residents would also be free.
That sounds correct.
So
Should we spell out right in the application what the the beach season is under non-resident pass? Or is it in the attached rules?
It's in the ordinance.
Yeah, it's in the ordinance. I think it's July 1st through August something.
And the
Basically
15th.
July and
Yeah.
August.
Yeah, and I was going to comment that the programmatic season that I'm outlining is a 10-week process where looking at, and I'm gonna have to double check my dates, but I believe it was June 15th, spanning all the way to August 21st.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's what you said before. Yeah,
Yep. Yeah, and so I know
June
swim lessons
15th
and
to August 21st, and we can put that in. We can put that as a little asterisk at the
Right.
bottom of the application.
Yep, and I could definitely add that in. It's easy.
So does anybody have any questions or additions or discussion on that motion? Does somebody want to second the motion?
Second.
Perfect. So it's a motion by Darlene and a second by Travis for the resident pass, which is Monmouth residents and non-resident taxpayers being free for the season. Non-residents at $100 per season. Adults $5 per guest with their children under 18 included, and those over 65 who are non-residents are free. And if we can get this drafted up and then everyone can review, I can bring this to the next select board meeting, which is next Wednesday.
So
Looks like, oh, sorry.
that's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, all those in favor of that. Looks like everyone, so that's great. So we can move on to the next item, which was review of more of the existing beach documents. I didn't know if we wanted to review those rules today or if we want to table that for the next meeting.
I think that is fair to look at the rules because I think it informs a lot of the policies that we're talking about. What I wanted to do, hopefully people can see, is I wanted to pull up the Reed Field rules against what Monmouth's rules are, and it pertains to the user management that we just talked about. So on the left here side, this is everything that is posted on the bathhouse right now. It's what's been there, at least when I was there last summer learning about the beach. The rules on the right-hand side are Reed Fields. And I hopefully, can you see like the bar of the gallery of people in here? Okay, I'm just going to minimize that. So I feel that our rules right now, based on what we're proposing to the select board, are, in my opinion, now going to be potentially out of date. Not that some rules are not obviously ones that we just need to have. Again, these were sent out as attachments in the email as well. So I welcome you to just kind of scan through the Monmouth Town Beach rules and keep some notes and some questions. But I did want to highlight some rules of the Reed Field Town Beach as part of this discussion. They do, in their beach rules, they do have beach hours. I think that those are tricky, only just because weather does influence that. It also beckons some questions around when somebody might, like if there's a program going on, identifying what's public usage versus when it might be just for a programmatic time. There's also some verbiage in here talking about the direction of who are beach staff. And I think that's really important to identify beyond what's on the Monmouth side, which is just lifeguards, because we are looking to have beach attendants who are going to be enforcing the true rules of the beach, particularly when it comes to more land specific items. So again, I wanted to bring some of these things into scope. They do have 26 different rules, but they do spell out some things more specifically than what I think our rules are. And I think our rules were kind of taken from Wakefield in more of a condensed way, which I totally appreciate. I just wanted to open up for discussion as to how we feel our rules currently are, and then also how our school rules need to be updated or maybe even added to be amended for select board members to review, in addition to the user management protocols that we just voted. Sorry, my voice got super raspy on that.
Looking at this really quickly, is there a reason why we're not allowing water wings for babies? That's,
Safety.
are they not safe?
Yeah, they're not safe at all.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, they're really dangerous. It tends to put the kids' arms way above their head with their head underneath. It's yeah.
Yeah.
Most beaches, and I don't think state parks.
Pools don't allow them at all.
Yeah.
Good.
But that doesn't
allow
mean
those
the
little-
new floaties
little-
that have the chest thing too, right?
Right, the little chest ones that you put your arms through, those are all right. Yes.
Yeah, if you
I mean,
wanted to
I
get
think-
fancy with it, you just want to go U.S. Coast Guard approved.
Yes.
If you're going to tell someone what they can and can't wear, it probably should just read U.S. Coast Guard.
I like that idea
Right.
of spelling that out.
Right.
So did
But
you?
I don't know if
we
you really
go down-
need to either.
If we go
Yeah,
down through them real quick, Mike, so obviously if we look at Reed Fields and kind of use that as a basis and then go back to Monmouth and see if we missed anything, I think is kind of a good way to do it, where we want the users to either purchase something or have a window sticker. So number 1 is kind of obvious. Number 2, all users assume all risk. And then we can say, even with lifeguards on duty, it's still
Right.
swim at your own risk.
I think number 2, we just transplant with number 1 from the current Monmouth Town beach rules. When no lifeguard is on duty,
Yes.
swim at your own risk.
Right. I'm just writing. And then do we want to say, in terms of hours, do we want to say something like from dawn till dusk or something like that? Unless, and then put in unless a specific activity is going on.
Do we feel like we need hours right now?
I was just
I don't know if
Nah.
that's an issue.
I don't know if we do.
I think we
think
can get
hours-
rid of the hours. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
hours are nice, and I think it helps law enforcement. If
Yes.
there's not too many good things going on past 9, I'll say that. And so
Right.
if a police officer tends to make a round and they see people there, it's like it's 9:01. There's no question. Like, it's closed, leave.
Right.
I think that might help things a little bit. I mean,
It
This past
may,
summer was a little
so
rowdy.
they have something to rely on.
Yeah,
Right.
and I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't want to turn anybody away from using it at dusk, because I think the best time to go swimming is after dark, in my opinion. But I think 9 or 10 or just having a set time, I think, is decent. But if we're an early riser, I don't see why we couldn't really stretch the time. But I think it's nice having the time. Just, again, opinion.
For sure.
What time do the town parties tend to end? Like the 4th of July party and stuff? Because I just don't want that to be an issue, right?
think that's-
Someone
Well, it
gets pissed
should
at-
be, because it would be an exception to the rule, but they start the fireworks as soon as it gets dark, basically. So right around like 9-ish, and they're usually out of there by 9:30. So we could
We can
always
build in,
adjust the time to
An
say,
exception to that rule where
9:30
we
or something.
Yeah, we can just say that, you know, these are the beach hours with the exception of town approved events that may finish or
town have a
conclude
curfew?
after.
Is there a curfew in town?
No.
No.
And I think it would be good to have, you know, our own policy around if we have beach hours, like what that just means when it comes to staff. Because I want to make sure that a resident or non-resident who does use the beach, that we're probably only going to have set hours that beach attendants are there, which might not be reflective of the operational hours that we're listing.
Operational hours. Right.
And, you know, I think that could be like a one line summative thing.
Right.
But I just want to make sure that we, for my purposes, because I'm sure I'll be the one that gets phone calls. And I'm trying to keep, you know, the police chief happy.
So maybe we say staff hours will differ from beach hours.
Yeah, we can workshop and wordsmith that.
Right.
But I think it is important to give scope as to like approved resident, non-resident usage is allowed during X time.
Right.
You know, and I think as long as we're giving some clarity as to what that actually means versus it's not staffed 5 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Right. And then number 4, so we're going to put in number 3 now. We're going to make some hours, and I think it's a good idea because, like Caleb says, it does give the police officers something to stand on if they have to say, look, the beach is closed, guys. There are the rules. You know, sorry.
So how is the
4
beach any different? I'm just playing devil's advocate here, and trying to simplify things if we don't need hours. I mean, if somebody's just hanging out or in the parking lot at the town office at 8:55, can police just go by and tell them to go home? Like, do they need the hours spelled out for police to be able to tell them to go home?
I imagine it just kind of comes down to whether or not they deem it to be suspicious activity.
Right.
That's my best
Yeah, I
guess.
guess if they're not causing any problems, they're not causing any problems.
Yeah. So
Right. The
I
only
mean,
reason
I don't know that hours are important, but
We can
you make a
ask the
good point.
town lawyer just to review everything, make sure that we're not risking any issues with having certain rules. I think that before we, like, obviously after it goes to the select board, we can then have him just do a quick review, make sure everything's good, and that, like, saying these are the hours doesn't put us in murky water.
Well, yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want to discriminate against somebody just because they work a second shift or something like that.
Right.
So number 4, all users of the beach must follow the direction of beach staff. Staff have the right to stop any behavior which they feel is a disruptive, dangerous, or damaging.
I mean, I like keeping the language generic as beach staff
Yes.
because it is a little bit of a different mindset shift that people might be like, oh, well, you know, that's a lifeguard's job. Well, you know what? Their lifeguard's job when they're down there is truly aquatic activities. You know,
Right.
they shouldn't really have to be dealing with, you know, something that's happening up at the pavilion. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I like the generic language that Refill does have because I've been in that situation. I'm not beach staff, but as the director, I recognize I have the authority to do that too.
Right. So we'll keep that one. Number 5, children under 15 must be supervised by an adult remaining on property at all times.
I like how that's worded versus what we currently have because ours limits it to a parent and it doesn't say that they have to stay. So I do like how Reedfield words that line.
Yeah.
That way, if like you're bringing a niece or a nephew or your friend's kids, like you're still technically their supervisor at that point.
And when arriving at the town beach, you must drive slowly use caution in parking area and keep your window sticker or pass visible at all times. I know that sounds like really silly, but people do go zooming around that little circle there, so.
That one's good.
No bicycle allowed, no bicycles are allowed outside of the parking area. That means inside the rocks, which I think is a great idea because sometimes kids bring their bikes in there and they go like racing over and people have their towels spread out and stuff. So
Right. One
I
thing
think it's a
do
good
think-
idea.
One thing that is on my list that I hopefully am going to be able to just get pretty easily is some new bike racks. 'Cause there is
Yep.
a bike rack that's like old and decrepit that's like temporarily stored like right next to the entry to one of the bathhouse doors. And so
It's pretty
I'm a big
rough
believer.
though.
Yeah. I'm a
It's
big
pretty
believer that
rough.
it's like you can't get upset with people when there isn't a solution that you're giving them in the first
Right.
place. So
Possession or consumption of alcoholic beverages or drugs is prohibited. I like that better than.
can I ask a question?
Yep.
About that when it comes to any type of special events, is that rule all inclusive when it comes to, let's say, if sometimes if let's say if we did a cornhole tournament, I'm okay with it being a dry event. I just want to know for myself what the expectations are that like,
When we went to the pool at our development out in Texas, alcoholic beverages were not allowed, but people would put them in a koozie. And if they were in a koozie, you couldn't ask them to take them out to see what it was, or they'd put it in a Stanley or whatever.
My question kind of stems more from there are beer trucks similar to
Yeah.
food trucks.
I think
And
we could put in that for special events, alcohol may be permitted with special approval. It's like approval from, maybe we say that they have to have select board approval for that. Like we know it's an event that's safe to have it at, or maybe they have to have prior approval from the entire recreation committee, like a certain number of people say, yes, we're okay with there being an alcoholic event there, because once we introduce alcohol at these special events, if there's not a police presence, I believe then we do have to bring one in,
right.
but I'm not 100% certain. I'd want to check with Chief Erlin.
Yeah, and I have some philosophical thoughts on it too, outside of the purview of my job, that like, it's one of those things where obviously we want to maintain all safety and whether it's a designated activity in green space versus aquatics related, but I, as a youth sport person, like drinking is just getting outrageous at like the most passive events. And I have some really strong concerns about it. And I hear you, Darlene, where it's like people have things in koozies, Yetis, Stanleys, whatever. And so it is a fine line when it comes to that kind of stuff.
And I say that
and,
tongue in cheek in that
Yeah, me
if
too.
they're being belligerent, then
Right. Because I do think that Dennis with his food truck series that he does at Compson Hall, I do know that they have a liquor license at Compson where they're starting to serve, wine and such. And
Yeah.
I feel like there are appropriate areas to make that like
right.
on specific other town functions. I just asked that question just because I want to just know what everybody's thoughts and feelings were just when ideas start generating, like, oh yeah, we should do a cornhole tournament or this event, and yeah, it'd be great to bring beer trucks in. It'd just be good for me to know, like, we don't bring alcohol onto the property. That is a straightforward rule, but we can do, ice cream
Right.
trucks, food trucks, etc.
So I think maybe we just put they may be approved for special events, and we'll let the lawyer come up with some good wording for that.
Right.
Number 9, no glass of any kind.
I mean, that might be a little ticky tacky. I don't know, but again, like they just have a lot more outline rules than what we have. I totally understand why they have it, but if I don't want us to feel like we have to transfer everything and have a like so many so many rules at the same time.
I'd be in favor of getting rid of that. I mean, I don't know. A lot of things would say drinking out of glass is a much healthier option. But I understand it can be a risk. Broken glass sucks. I've stepped on it plenty of times.
Did we have glass over there? We didn't have it on ours,
No.
did we?
No.
No. No domestic animals are allowed at the beach. That's been kind of a long-standing thing because of several reasons. We all know what they are.
And I'll tell you, like I had a situation last year where the beach was so quiet in the morning, and there was a resident I talked to who had their dog down there, and of course I was just new, and I did my best to just say, hey, I know this is part of the rules, but I think once things start getting gray, you know, that's when it's
Right.
hard. So if
And-
people are okay
and
with
if
that being a
no one's there
straightforward
to
rule,
enforce the rule. I've gone down there plenty of times when there's been little hills of things that shouldn't be there, but they probably happened when no one was there to enforce the rule. So people just need to be reminded to clean up after their pet.
I think I would be a little cautious too to list it as domestic, but just I think animals I think
Yeah.
would be good.
Yep. No fishing allowed. Do we want to say no fishing allowed within the beach area or buoyed area? Because how far is the dock from the beach? Is it 100 feet?
Somewhere around there, I would say.
Pretty close.
I think you
right?
can say within the roped-in area, but you can't legally prevent someone from fishing public water. So you got to be careful there.
Right.
or just no fishing within buoyed swim areas.
Buoyed area,
Yeah.
swim areas. Yeah.
You can tell somebody not to fish from the property because that's your right on that property, but
Right.
you can ask them not to fish the buoyed
Yeah,
area.
because there was a number of kids who were fishing down at the boat dock area, which I'm assuming that's all
Right. And that's
kosher.
fine.
Right.
No.
Oh, it's
You're
not.
not supposed to fish off boat launches, no.
They're not supposed
Well, they were
to,
like
they
kind of like
do.
in between in that wooded area, but I have seen kids who have been doing it
Yeah,
off the boat
most of
dock
them are
area.
awesome. They fish off the dock when you go to launch a boat and they pack up for a second and you're all good. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's
No.
good for me to know too, especially with again training beach attendants, what to look out for commonly misused
Right.
functions.
No swimming beyond the buoys. They usually do a swim across the lake. I don't know. This is kind of it's more what you want your lifeguards to be able to.
Right. I have a feeling that is probably going to be a non-issue this summer, based on how swim lessons are designed. But again, that's kind of like a special.
So maybe we
Event
put
type
no
thing.
swimming under floats and no rough play.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a way we can probably encompass 3 rules in the one. Hopefully, knowing that there is stuff on the mama side about, that there are no like we said no twists, no backflips, back dives. It's just like I think we're trying to say there's no jumping off the dock. That's basically what I'm getting from there.
I think that happened because when I was in high school, a kid a year older than me was paralyzed for diving from the first dock. So I think they've had pretty strict rules since then about where you
Right.
can jump off of.
Right. I think just like probably it's so shallow from what I understand too.
It's
that I think
very
it's just
shallow.
like no diving. I don't want to say kids can't jump. I mean that
Yeah.
It's like one of the best parts being a kid on the lake. But
Right.
I think the no diving part and the horseplay, I think is probably the best things that you can generically put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Do
rough-
the lifeguards or the swim lessons? I vaguely remember my kids learning to jump and dive off the docks with lifeguard assistance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's true, but I think that's true.
That's a great question, Tom. I think what I'll have to do is just ask what's part of the curriculum for the swim program. Right now, it's been a lot more of like they give some generic things of what they go over with swimming, water base, like water, basic water safety. But I'll have to ask them about what they do in diving teaching because I think unique to our water, I don't know what Reedfield is and what they use. They just might not do it at all. But I'll ask Jamie Messier, he's the KVY aquatics director, and we've been in close communication the last few weeks.
So what about floats and that kind of stuff? Number 13, do we want to just say that the use of any
Well, we have
I
it
don't-
outlined
I
in
think-
number 11 on our side.
I think you can just get rid of that if you have at the top, you're assuming all risk, but at the same time, you want to make sure that floats are not going to be, if I bring a float and jump on it and it shoots across and hits somebody, just there's surfboards and stuff like that, people dragging random things into the swim area, paddle boards shouldn't be in the swim area.
right?
That would be considered a float, and so.
Right.
Keep the swim area for swimming, I think, is where we need to go with that.
Yes. So maybe just say no paddle boards in the swim area.
Sounds like we're saying like floating
Right. But
devices.
people are using them now down there. I mean, if somebody brings a noodle or I don't have a problem with that stuff. If they beat each other with them, maybe,
Yeah.
but if they're down there, you know.
Right. And again, I think what's interesting for me too is like being able to see and go through a summer to really understand like what are people
Right.
commonly bringing that they're using. I think we have to just be mindful of like what do we know for sure that we're not allowing, because there's so many. It's like Legos. How many different themed Legos are there? And how many different floating devices or toys are considered to be floating toys? And so I think if we are able to use generic enough language, then it
Right.
allows us that it does allow us to be able to then go into what we talked about before, which is like behavior. That's really what we're trying to nip, I think, the most.
Right. Their 14 is about swim diapers.
Now we're really getting into weeds.
I know. I mean,
You know what?
to me, it's common sense, but it isn't always because we had a lot of chocolate alerts at the pool in Texas.
Is that gonna be written into our policies? Chocolate alerts.
But they called it a chocolate alert.
As long as we don't bring in any like ice cream or food trucks that are called that and we get confused with anything.
I mean, hey, sorry, I apologize for being late. I actually just spaced it until I was like, oh crap, we have that meeting tonight. So my apologies to everyone. Secondly, man, I use the town beach pretty regularly with my kids during the summer. We go there maybe 3 or 4 times a week usually, and I don't know if I've ever seen like the swim diaper thing really be an issue. You know what I mean? People are pretty responsible with their little ones, with their toddlers and stuff. I mean, sometimes they might forget a swimmy, and you see the kid with the really bloated, like normal diaper because it absorbs all the moisture. You know what I
Right.
mean? But I don't know if I've ever seen that be a
Maybe
like,
we leave
quote,
it
unquote,
out
problem.
and then we see if it becomes an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Good way to tackle it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
How
I
do
think
you
that
think about that?
I do think that the more rules you put in place, then the more that you have to navigate enforcing those rules. And I think
Right.
any rule that you put in place that you can't enforce kind of becomes like a farce. And I don't think you want that to be like, I'd rather have 15 concrete rules and have them enforced like, with fidelity than have 30 rules that don't get enforced with fidelity.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And I-
Wade, sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say that one of the things that we were discussing before you popped on was not only just the topic of reviewing our rules, but the user management that we talked about that informs the rules. Is that I do think that our rules with what we're proposing to the select board in our non-resident fee structure, that some of the rules that Refill has, I think do have applicability to kind of beef up some of the things that we're actually putting in place to be enforced. So while I love what Reedfield has, I'm with you that I'm like, oh God, now we're really kind of getting in the weeds. We got to make one singular poster update. We don't want, people aren't going to read all those. But we want to make sure we're encompassing as much as we can. It's easy for residents, but non-residents, but also our beach attendants, and also for me too, to be able to say, hey,
Right.
this might not be specified, but like this is something that's inherently applied under these concrete rules.
Right. 15, I have never really seen anybody go down there and shampoo and soap and things, but
I feel like that would tie more into if we allowed camping, but I believe
Yeah.
the ordinance already says no camping there, right?
Right.
So,
I like the trash one because I think trash is an issue down there, and you probably found that out last summer, Mike, where because they don't pick it up on the weekend, and then Monday you come in and they're overflowing. So it does help to reduce wasps and different things like that. So
Yeah, and having beach attendants are going to be helpful for the extra
Yes.
eyes. Call me and call Tony at Public Works, because it's really Public Works
Right.
that comes around and picks it up.
they come around and pick it up, right? Smoking, vaping, tobacco use.
So we do have on the Monmouth side no smoking, and I think that obviously the way things have trended, that it does require, in my opinion, more specification.
Yeah.
That's at least my viewpoint, but of course, happy to hear the feedback of others.
I like 17.
I agree with that. Did we want to make sure it also specifies that?
So
that
if we
includes
say anywhere on the
marijuana?
property, like, does that mean the group of trees too up behind, like the kiosk, where the kiosk is, like up behind there, that group of trees? I think that's technically still on the beach property, and that's where, like, historically, when I'm at the beach, that's where people go up to smoke in the trees. So I just think that that's one of those ones that we're gonna have to make sure that our beach attendants are comfortable enforcing, because I do think that is kind of a problem at the beach sometimes, people smoking.
Yeah. To me, the property, and they would have to go out to the road, or they'd have to go over to the boat launch. And I
Right.
think
That
over
makes
the
sense.
boat launch, it says no smoking,
And then,
because the parking lot is no smoking too. But
Yeah, that's where the town, like, I'll be working with Justin to fill out the appendices where it comes to
Right.
what makes up the town beach. And that will help us to be able to enforce. But I think it's
Right.
good. It's good for me to hear that though, Wade, that it sounds like y'all know where like some of the hot spots are, that might require, a little bit more walk around during shifts to make sure that things like that are being nipped.
I took out the no holes dug in the sand. I've never seen anybody dig any holes down there because there's not a lot of sand.
Yeah, take that out.
Yeah.
Inappropriate language. I think that's
I think that that's all covered under the, number 4 when it comes to what they feel is disruptive, dangerous, or damaging behavior. So they just refill just really spelled it out. They must have had a
Right.
lot of
I
people
think,
that issue.
and I think 19 and 20, we probably could
Right.
take out.
And I think it's worth noting that their beach rules are probably a lot more specific because they have, and I talked with their town officials, they have the weather vane right up the top of the hill. So I think they're prone to a little bit more, creative behavior, if you will.
The only thing
Yes.
I would say with 20 is the Bluetooth speakers can get a. I don't know there, Wade. Maybe you can add in. Maybe it's not much of an issue, but I know the certain beaches we do visit, at times it gets pretty annoying if you get 6 different people playing 6 different speakers.
Well,
I gotta be honest. I can't remember, man. I don't think I've ever been there where I felt like somebody was playing music that was like way too loud or way too inappropriate. You know what I mean? Most people, they might have it going on their phone right next to them, but for the most part, I kind of feel like we're really blessed because people are pretty respectful there most of the time.
and it does say in Rule 4, behavior which we feel is disruptive.
Yeah,
So loud
covers it.
music would be disruptive.
Perfect.
And then cooking permitted on grills only.
Do a lot of people do that?
A
I've
lot of
never
people have
seen 'em.
picnics. Like a lot of people will picnic at the tables on the kiosk, and
Right.
you'll see like a lot of people like visiting there, and but they usually bring food in. I don't know if I don't know if I've ever seen someone bring. I think maybe for like birthday parties or something, if they make arrangements with the town, they brought a grill in or something. But I can't remember ever seeing anyone grill on the grill there.
Okay.
Me either. I don't think we have no tents and stuff in the ordinance, so I don't think we need 22 or 23.
Yep.
And then I think the pass holders, the rest of that would be, we wouldn't necessarily need that.
No. And again, keep in mind that like a lot of these rules are really meant to just be what we are posting down
Right.
at the beach.
Right.
Some of these are things that like probably could be even amended in the ordinances themselves too, or what I post as additional information, on the website too.
That gives us about 13, which if we take out the ones and that we took out, it brings the rules down to closer to what we had before.
Yeah. And Darlene, would you be able to in
Type
the
it up.
minute? I was gonna say just in the minutes, but
Yeah, I'll
be
type
able
it up as
to.
our rules and
That
then
would be
get
great.
it around so everybody can kind of look at it. And then we can make any adjustments based on that and then do the finality of it. I can, send it to you and have Justin check with the attorney too.
Yep.
Because if it goes before the board and the attorney hasn't checked it, they'll just ask the attorney to check it. So we may want to have Justin try to get it out to have the attorney look at it before. So
Yep.
I'll see if I can get it done this week, or I'll get it done tomorrow and get it out to us, and then we can send it to we can send it on.
Sure. Good. Trying to think on the before I go on, is there anything that we need to do committee wise as far as like making motions of what this would look like, or do we want to wait to have it all typed up and create a form in which that can be
Yeah, I think we should do one more review as a committee before we then motion to bring it to the select board.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think we can do that in an email. We can say, yes, this is what we reviewed and make any adjustments and then send it off.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Those are two big ticket items that will certainly help move things along.
Just when you guys send back comments on whatever Darlene types up, don't reply all, reply individually, and then she'll send out any edits, because if we reply all, it's an informal meeting, which is a no-no. So,
Yeah.
But if we reply individually, then we're kosher and we're good.
Yep. That sounds great. Darlene and Kayla, what I don't have the agenda right up in front of me.
I believe
else
that
we
was
got?
the last thing, because the next item was documents for select board consideration. So if
Yep.
those are going to be written up and then sent to everyone for approval before I bring them next week, then we should be good. So then any other business that people have that they want to bring up?
The only thing that I had was we talked about this last time in our meeting was, again, this was just like a copy of a flyer for swim lessons, is talking about the rate. I did get some feedback individually, which was really helpful as far as just thinking about like what would be a rate that we would feel comfortable with swim lessons. The contract, as I mentioned before, with KVY was $3,000. You know, it sounded like there was some agreement to the notion of like, hey, the best we can to offset that contract by fees would be an appropriate goal right now. And I had it in this spreadsheet that I showed last week. Gosh, I'm losing track of the time. Right here is like what some potential fees would be relative to what the revenue would be if every slot was filled. And so I did a little market comparison that showed like, you know, what the KVY is, what the Reed Field Beach is. They're doing $95. The Swim Spectrums, which that is Lisa, you know, she does do different variations of classes offered. So it sounded like a goal was to keep it as low as possible. And so that kind of gives a breakdown as to what the revenue structure could be based on individual fee costs if every slot was filled. So I just wanted to like give another chance for folks to chime in, because that will be helpful for me when it comes to setting up our registration fees and all the information in flyer form, online registration, etc.
Right, because we had tabled this last time to say that we wanted to kind of go and look at it and think about it. So
Is
I
the
mean,
Monmouth, oh, sorry, is the
Yep.
Monmouth
No, I was-
resident rate going to be the same as a non-resident rate? Because I do know some non-residents who are interested.
Yeah, so we talked about a few different things. One is that I think as a rec program in general, I think it's very appropriate to have resident and non-resident fees across most of our programs. Summer camps, as you know, Wade and I have been looking at. I think having one set fee for a week-long specialized camp is good, just to have a fixed rate. But when it comes to some of these other programs, you know, I think it's more a matter of what we want to do in this year one. Do we want to allow it to be the same rate, or is it, hey, if you have an annual or a full season pass, you're accommodated as a resident fee? I'm really open to what your feedback is. I don't think it's unreasonable to have, let's say we said it was $50 for, you know, a resident. I'm not looking to blow non-residents out of the water, no pun intended, that, you know, if it's like $55 or $60, you know, for that, because they are utilizing our municipal services that taxpayers are actually helping to make available. So anyways,
So
I just want to.
So by your chart, it essentially, if we charge $55 for swim lessons per child, we would
Mhm.
recoup the cost of the contract with the Y.
if all
Yep.
of the.
If we
sessions
filled
fit-
all of our spots, which
Yep.
I mean, I feel like if we don't fill them all, we'll come very close. And I think that I think somewhere in that $50-$60 range makes sense because that's on par with the rest of our rec programs that we offer, like travel soccer, travel basketball. It's on par with the youth baseball fee of $60. I think people are kind of used to that range. I think $95 to me, I mean, while my family will pay it, I don't know if every family will pay it, you know?
For sure.
And I just think that if we can keep it kind of close and not try to gouge people, not keep it close. We got to cover the cost, and then the program is basically net zero, So I think that keeping it in that $50 to $60 range makes sense. And I think a $10 difference for in town versus out of town, resident versus non-resident also makes sense. So again, I don't think you should try to blow people out of the water either. Obviously, they need swim lessons. All kids need to know how to swim, So I don't think a $10 difference for in town versus out of town is exorbitant in any way, shape, or form.
That sounds good.
I was going to say the exact same thing, Wade, that, if we stay 50 or 60 for a resident and say, 60 or 70 for a non-resident, I think we're right in the ballpark we need to be in. And then we will, try to accommodate people that have multiple, kids. If they have a lot of kids and they want to get them in, then they should reach out to Mike and, if we have to do something for a hardship or whatever, then we do that.
Is with
And I'm
baseball, I
totally
think
supportive
it's
of that,
you
yeah.
pay for two, right? Anything more than two, just
I think the cap in baseball is something like 110 or something per family.
right,
or something.
55
Yeah.
per kid,
Yeah,
but a cap,
yeah.
a family cap of that. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it'd be worthy of looking into something like that. And I don't know, maybe it's a lot more working pieces, but somehow creating a fund, if somebody did have a kid in town and didn't have the money, I think as a taxpayer, I don't know, I would love to see everybody have the option to learn how to swim
Right.
regardless of the cost.
Right.
It's a hell of a lot cheaper than going to a funeral.
Yeah, and philosophically, I would ensure that wouldn't be a barrier.
Right.
I think it's more just claiming that people know that they can and should reach out to me directly. Eventually, especially as we move on down our targets as a committee and as a department, is I think once we are able to really truly establish this more enterprise model, then I'm able to really look at how can I set aside a separate
Right.
line that's truly what that's dedicated to, because it makes it easier for me financially to have control of those funds and apply it to the correct GLs and all that other stuff. So, but the $10 difference, I do want to be mindful of. I think if we're going to go in that same consistency route, that when I roll out soccer in the fall, I would like to make sure that whatever we set up, unless you think the beach is just so unique that it should be a little bit higher, that if we do have a non-resident youth soccer rate for a kid from Lisbon or Sabatis that wants to play, that difference is probably the same.
What is the difference between a resident and non-resident for soccer right now?
There's no difference.
There is
Right now, it's
none.
all the same.
I think one of the perks for the swim lessons is if they end up staying at the beach for a few hours after the swim lesson and they're a non-resident, maybe we don't charge them that for that day. If they're already there because they were there for the swim lesson, maybe that's the perk of them paying that extra $10.
Yeah,
That
they don't
could
have to
be
be kicked
an
out after
incentive.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah,
so
I
if
mean, that's-
somebody's a non-resident and they're going to a swim lesson, they don't have to have a pass on their car? I
For
was
that
assuming
day,
that
yeah.
the non-residents would already be paying the $100 seasonal fee.
They
That
should.
is certainly up for discussion. That is certainly up for discussion.
And if they are
Um,
paying that, then they probably shouldn't pay more for swim lessons, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, if they are paying that, but if they're not paying for the fee. So I think that's something we'd have to work out is, are they buying the annual pass? And if they do, yeah, then don't charge them the full.
Yeah, I think on
non-resident.
the beach pass application, that might be another little asterisk line. Obviously, we don't want to create too much language, but just say, hey, this is a perk of purchasing this
Right.
only under the full seasonal. I think that that's a helpful, distinguishable way to put
Right.
it. And I'll figure out on the MyRec side how to
Yeah.
represent the way in which it needs to.
If you do a non-seasonal pass, I mean, it's free for kids anyways, right? So you'd only, the parents, I guess you'd only end up having to pay if the parents wanted to access the water, right? Because the kids are free anyway.
Yeah.
Essentially, based on what we talked about.
You know, and I think, I mean, if you did try to factor that in, that $100 plus that fee, then all of a sudden it becomes way more feasible to go elsewhere.
Right. Right. And again, what we could do
So do we
in this year
want
one,
to, I guess going back to my question about, sorry, Mike.
Yeah.
Going back to my question, if it's not different in the other sports, do we want to make it different in swimming lessons? Where they already have to pay access for the beach? You see what I'm saying?
Will the beach be closed to the public during swim lessons,
No,
or will it
I
still
don't
be
think so.
open?
It's always been
Um,
open in the past.
yeah, I'm gonna talk with Jamie about like what exactly they need. I think that's the best way I can just put it, as far as just like understanding like, hey, public usage in Reed Field, is that something that you guys still allow, or do you close down for that 2-hour block? I don't really want it to be prohibitive of residents or non-residents who have paid to use it. But I think as long as I'm able to maybe get a special, maybe I could look into like another like buoy line.
Yeah, and
You know,
just
that
like
helps to,
section
like,
off part of it.
protect that
People are
program.
generally pretty good. If kids are being disruptive, then usually, we check with their parents to get them away from the area or whatever, but people are usually pretty good about it.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think it's ever really that busy in the times that I've taken my kids there for swim lessons where it's been
Sure.
a problem, but it's always been remained open.
Right.
Yeah.
So just to clarify on the rate, it's one of the things, just looking at swim lesson rates, is that and again, like knowing that there's a lot of room for growth, I think one of the things that we could do is just have a set singular fee, and I will be able to know registration wise what percentages.
Right.
Are they all Monmouth residents, or do we have 1 or 2 or 5 non-residents to really warrant that increase? I think it kind of comes back to that fundamental question, around like if they are non-residents, do they have to have paid use elsewhere to justify their ability to even use the swim lessons? I think if we set it up similarly, I think the pass for the beach is just usage of the beach. I think that's the easiest way I can kind of put my mental frame onto it. No different than it's like if somebody signed up for Wade's basketball program, for skills and drills, they're just paying a one-time program fee. It's not like a Y membership that then you get a member rate. I think the easiest we can make it for ourselves in this year one, the better. And I think we'll be able to have some data to evaluate, looking at year 2.
Yeah, I think we just make it one rate, and I mean, that's
Yes.
my opinion. How do you
Yeah,
guys
maybe
feel
for year
about it?
one, just do like the $60 fee, keep it in line with the other sports, if that's in line, and then assess next year and see like, should we do the differentiation?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I would be curious to know the numbers on like non-resident kids because I would kind of feel bad if like we have a Monmouth student who lives in Wales but comes to our school on a superintendent's agreement and we turn away from swim lessons because they don't pay the non-resident you know what I mean? Like I don't.
Right.
Yeah, like there's a lot of crazy things. I'd be curious to know just how many non-residents actually would sign up. So it probably would
Right.
make sense just to keep it at one fee and keep it easier.
Yeah, and at $50, like I think that's an incredibly attractive rate based on just looking at some of these other ones, like Lisa's program. Obviously, is the most close to the home, if you will. And our program 7 weeks. with one class a week, whereas right now, based on our 2025 rates, 6 classes is 42. So, you're really kind of in the ballpark to make sure that it is good. And I'm not trying to make Reedfield look bad at all, you know what I mean? But I think as a growing program, it is easier to start a little bit lower than it is to do the reverse, by charging too high. And you don't want to upset people. I don't think at the same time in this first year as we're trying to grow in our reputation as well. So I'm hearing $50 is a good one, or is 55, or what do we think you would like me to do?
Did you say the 55 puts us at break even?
50 puts us at 28, so 200 under. 55 does give the opportunity to hit it. And for contrast, a youth sport program, Skills and Drills is a $40 fee right now. But if you want to do like travel, which encompasses the Skills and Drills fee already, that typically is at 60, because there are some things that, jerseys and all the other things, ref fees and all that go into it. So just want to give that context if the goal is to keep it pretty similar in scope.
I'm fine with 50, 55. I think either one of those makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, because these are budgeted expenses. It's not a requirement that we have to make up these funds, but I try to have a little small business mindset when it goes into this too, to make sure we
think
are
it's a good
covering
idea.
our expenses as best as we can. So I'm gonna throw it out there that I'm hearing $50 in a year one sounds like a good starting.
That sounds good.
Excellent.
Yep, I can make a motion if you want and say we charge $50 for residents and non-residents in the swim program in this first year and see how we do.
I second the motion.
Awesome. So we have a motion by Darlene and a second by Wade to make the first year swim lessons $50.
Me too.
All in favor?
Oh, thank you, Darlene. I was typing.
Sounds good. Well, I just keeping an eye on the time. I know we had a little bonus coverage tonight. So I just appreciate everybody being here. And I'll get cranking on a lot of this stuff with Justin that I need to. And thank you, Darlene, for keeping notes on all things. And that way it helps to give me the orientation of how I can prepare all materials. The thing I'll leave you with on my end before we formally close is a lot of things for summer outside the beach. I've been working on that by April break. I want to make sure I get something out to the schools, just highlighting not only our swim program, but then also a number of the summer camps that we have going on. I know I'd mentioned it in our last meeting. So we do have co-ed soccer. We do have a boys basketball camp that is geared more towards middle school age that Wade's going to be running. Keith DeRoseby with girls basketball. Nate Poulin, who's going to be doing a PE camp. There are a few other camps out there that I'm still working on, which might be more art specific, in addition to whether or not we look at an equine program as well. But we're already at a 5 new camp opportunity, which I'm excited to roll out. And I think a lot of people are going to appreciate seeing us, build more opportunities for the kiddos in the community. So just want to make you all aware that that's other stuff that will be rolled out with all this beach stuff, targeting April.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
if that's all, I guess, can we have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Perfect. Can I have a second?
A second.
Seconded.
Awesome. All in favor of adjourning? Great. See everyone next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks all. Have a great
Good
night.
evening.
Thank you. See ya.
See you later.